messages there. And if, for example, the soldier was caught while transmitting the information, he would most probably, let us say, just swallow the piece of paper so that nobody would be able to actually read the message. So then we come to modern cryptography. So as from it is just after World War II. So already people at that time knew that if you want to rule the world, you must be able to actually have a hand on what we call secret communication. Not only that, at that time it was also about processing of information. Then you had the first computers that were built in 1950s and started also cryptography at that time. So during that time, you will see one of the first cryptographic algorithms that started to be used seriously in government and business. It was in 1977, which we actually had the data encryption standard. It is one of the oldest and one of the most widely used and commonly known cryptographic algorithm. Unfortunately, it has already been broken now and it is not used anymore. It is used only for legacy systems, and it is used in some form which we call it triple test. You do the encryption 3 times instead of 1 time, and they are being still used nowadays. And then at the same time, you had in 1997 the RSA, which stands for Raivesh, Shamir, and Adelman, the names of the three persons who actually created this public key cryptography, which was created at that time. And trust me, it is being used today also for transmission and security of information. And then in 1998, we had the what we call the famous advanced encryption standard AES, which is still being used nowadays, and it is very strong and very stable, and it has withstand a lot of different types of cryptographic attacks. Right. So maybe this information is important for us, for the academics, to know about what are the foundations of cryptography, to know what we need to actually learn to be able to do cryptography and cryptanalysis. So first of all, you will see you have mathematics. Basically, you have what we call number theory dealing with whole numbers. It is actually whole number mathematics, and you will see you need to know how to actually use and manipulate prime numbers and so on. And then the second very important field in mathematics is the field theory, which is more precisely the Galois field theory, which is more relevant to cryptography. In our audience, if we have mathematicians, most probably they will know what I'm talking about. Secondly, we should be very good at algorithms. Algorithms, writing programs or yeah set of steps for us to be able to perform something, because you will notice that cryptography is basically about algorithms, and needless to say, nowadays it is algorithms that actually are controlling the whole world. So among the different algorithms that you have to learn, of course, encryption algorithm, you have hashing algorithms, you have random number generators, and most probably factorization. And then finally, you need to know low level programming, not necessarily assembly, but if you want to have fast encryption, you will actually do either assembly programming or do cryptography in hardware. Else, the best known language for cryptography is C. Nowadays, you can use C++. And if you want to do actually programming or simulation on hardware, you can use VHDL, which is a language which is used for simulation of hardware. We call this a very high speed. Here it is, very high speed integrated circuit hardware description language. This also is interesting. In engineering, we use them in Arduino programming and so on. Then what about cryptanalysis? The second part that we have seen together with you. Why I'm talking about this? Because cryptanalysis actually is the study of methods and techniques yeah, of indirect discovery of the keys that has been used for encryption. So it demonstrates, actually, we can use cryptanalysis to demonstrate the strength and weaknesses of ciphers. So whenever you have built a new cipher, most probably you will try to see whether you are able to actually break the cipher without having the key. And cryptanalysis actually does that. We actually try to break the cipher, or to discover the key, or to discover the main the plain text from the cipher text without having knowledge from the key. So it is a field of active research also, as well as cryptography. Uh, Cryptanalysis or modern ciphers use what we call brute force, which is considered as a hard task to perform. And modern approaches to cryptanalysis, maybe I will talk a few words about this later, about linear and differential cryptanalysis. You can have machine learning, deep learning, which are being used nowadays. Some of the common cryptanalytic attacks, this what I was talking about, is in case you want to study about cryptanalysis, linear cryptanalysis, you have differential cryptanalysis, you have meta heuristics. This is the field that I'm using. Basically, it is good for me to inform you that I am doing research in cryptanalysis of ciphers, and I use meta heuristics, which are based on you have examples like genetic algorithms and colony algorithms, particle swarm, and so on, which can be used to actually attack the ciphers. And then, of course, you have side channel attacks, which can be used to uh, to break systems by looking at the power changes or electromagnetic changes, or you have what we call timing attacks. Why do we say timing attacks? Because different, let us say, characters or groups or bits, they take different times for encryption or decryption. So if, for example, A takes 5 milliseconds or 5 microseconds for encryption, in case you measure the time for a given encryption and it is 5 microseconds, then probably it is A. So this is one way of actually getting the plain text by just timing how much time each of the characters or the blocks of ciphers are taking. Then you may have specific attacks also. So who are those who are actually against having access to our information, and who are the stakeholders who wants to have access to our information? So you see on the left hand side, you have the bad guys, those people who are those who try to attack. Please, you don't have to see bad everywhere, but trust me, bad guys, they exist. And if you don't protect yourself, your communication, your information, and so on, they will try to have access to your data and they will make use of it. You have hackers, you know what are them. You have law breakers. I'm talking about cyber security. You have cyber criminals, as we call them. Nowadays, you have terrorists, which uses the same uh, communication channels as we common people we use. So they actually need information and they transmit information for performing their activities. Yes, you will be astounded, but yes, government actually they are part of the bad guys also. They want to know who is doing what transaction, and so on, and who is communicating with whom, and so on and so forth. It could be your manager who is actually watching you, your boss. It could be a colleague. You see, I put friend here in inverted commas here because we don't know really who are our friends. In case they have access to our information, what are they going to actually, how they are going to use it? It could be your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife. For example, your wife may want to know what is your password to Facebook, to know with whom you communicate, and so on and so forth. Actually, you see, the bad guys can be anybody, and in fact, everybody. And the only good guys in the picture is you and just you. You are the only person you can trust whenever you are communicating. So that is why it is your responsibility to know how you're storing your information and how you're transmitting your information. Whenever you are storing or transmitting the information, whether it is secure or not. And one way of assuring security here is cryptography. So I will talk very quickly about the Kirchhoff's law, which is a very old principle. Look at that; it was proposed by August Kirchhoff in 1883. A crypto system should be secure even if everything about the system except the key is known. So actually, I could boil this down to that everything actually is known about a crypto system. A crypto system is a system that allows you to encrypt and decrypt data. Only the only thing that is not known or is not known to everybody is the key. And this Kirchhoff principles was later reformulated by the mathematician Claude Shannon. Those doing communication engineering will know about this. The enemy knows about the system. So nowadays, everybody knows all the systems that are being used by the banks, by the government, and so on and so forth. The only thing that we don't know is what key they have used when they have encrypted the data. And the whole security lies on the key. Right. So very quickly, I will, just because of time, I will maybe go a bit quicker or faster on these slides here, which may be not interesting for you. But it is important for you to know what are the different types of ciphers we had. They are classified according to classical against modern. So classical ciphers, they are ciphers which were in the pre-computer era, before 1950s, when we did not have any computers, and basically encryption were done on paper. You write the encrypted data and on paper, and that's it. But then you have the modern cryptography is as from the computer era, and one of the examples that we have seen together with you is this. Then secondly, you have block ciphers against string ciphers. Block ciphers is where the plain text is broken into equal size blocks, and and encrypted block by block. Whereas stream ciphers, we treat actually the plain text as a stream of data, as a stream of data. Actually, the difference between block and stream ciphers is due to the size of the unit being treated. So one example for block ciphers is AES, and one example of stream ciphers is RC4. Please note that I'm giving you examples of ciphers that are being used nowadays, today itself. And then finally, you have what we call symmetric and asymmetric ciphers. Symmetric ciphers, they are those ciphers that use the same key for encryption and decryption. Sometimes they are known as private key cryptography. Whereas asymmetric ciphers, they use two keys. You have private key and public key. While public key is known to everybody, the private key is known only to the users. So some of the examples of public key cryptography is RSA and elliptic curve cryptography. These are the two main modern ciphers that are being used nowadays for quite some time and will stay for quite some time. RSA is still very strong, and since it was built, it has never been broken, not by a not by an inch. Right. So the main security requirements, why, what a given system, whether it is a information system or communication system. So cryptography actually provides these four main security features. You have confidentiality, that is preserving the authorization on information so that people cannot have access to it. Other words, I can actually change the word confidentiality to privacy or proprietary information. So only the sender and the receiver knows about the information, and they need to know the key to be able to get access to the data. Then you have integrity. It is about whenever the data during transmission has been intercepted by somebody and changed. So whenever we talk about data integrity, we're talking about data that has not been tampered. That is, the data has been received in the same form as it was sent. Then you have authentication. Cryptography provides authentication. It allows you to be actually to check or to give the assurance that you are the one that you claim to be. And then finally, you have non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is a very late type of cryptographic feature. Why? Because whenever somebody has done a transaction or has sent, for example, an email and so on, he or she should not be able to deny that he or she had done this. For example, whenever you do a transaction on the internet, it is very easy for you to click on a button. Just you click on that button and then that's it, the transaction is done. But you have to understand that this is a binding operation. Once you click, then the information has gone. It is impossible for you to actually deny that you have done the transaction. Just the same way as, for example, the bank is saying that you have removed, let us say, 1,000 rupees from your account, and you're saying, no, sir, I did not do that. Non-repudiation is a form of feature that allows you not to be able to repudiate or to refuse that you have performed a given action, and this is also provided by cryptography. But basically, people they think about only of confidentiality, but all the other features also are very important in modern communication. Then applications of cryptography. So this is very important, and I would like you to understand this. Many people they don't even think about what is going on. Whenever you're doing any transaction, you're communicating, you're talking on phone, you're sending email, and so on. You are using cryptography. It is in the background. You don't care about it. You don't think about this, but it is there. Most probably, before coming to this webinar today, you have used cryptographic algorithms without knowing about this. Actually, cryptography is a major component of modern information and communication security. I could actually equate the word cryptography with security. They are same, and they have same meaning. But please don't think that once you use cryptography, then you are secure. I said it is a major component, but it is not the only thing that you have in cybersecurity. Okay, so briefly, we're going to see where these are being used. These are the terms there. I will actually just in the subsequent slides go over them. So first of all, about digital and satellite communication. So look, you will see I have not actually written quite a lot of things here. Just you will see the different forms or ways in which data is actually secured. So you have here a dish which is sending data from the earth to the satellite here, and you have data which is sent from here to here and then down here. So when the data is out there, it is actually accessible to any other component or attacker. So this data should be actually encrypted when it is sent to the satellite. On the other hand, let us say you have two parts of the world communicating. So here again, you have two satellites relaying the data. So this is encrypted, this is also encrypted, and this is also encrypted. So you will see that even if this is accessible, the data is secure because we are not going to be able to understand the message because it is encrypted. You have another one here where, for example, here it may be possible that these two, they are using one method of encryption and these two another method of encryption. So which means that it could be different methods and different keys, but these two satellites there, they actually make this possible. Yes, we can hear people talking. Yes, okay, thank you very much. Let us carry on. Then you have wireless and mobile communication. Everybody nowadays having a mobile phone knows that you are using this most of the time. You will notice that the contrary of this one here, or the opposite of this one is here, is wired communication. So wireless communication and mobile communication is more difficult nowadays to secure because of the it's easily accessible medium. So for example, you have used the application WhatsApp. For example, I use it every day. You may have noticed that it is written end-to-end encryption here. Whenever you're writing any message from your mobile phone to your receiver's phone, the data from your phone up to the telecommunication services until it reaches its destination, it is encrypted from point to point. And this is a very important form of encryption. So as you can see here, again used in mobile and wireless applications. So here another one here is about contactless payments. You see where nowadays you can use your mobile phone to perform payments and so on. I've used only, I have put here only two examples here, but there are many of them that are being used nowadays, and we have not stopped here. And then you have online transactions, whenever you perform electronic commerce transactions where you are going to purchase on an online site or online shop, or you perform, for example, online banking from home, you can actually do transactions, for example, transfer of funds, paying for things, and so on. Some people, they do what we call online betting. You put your bet, you want to play for money, and then you get, you win or you lose, of course. You can do online booking of many things. For example, you can book a seat on the webinar. You can actually book a flight on the plane and so on. Oh, I have missed a. I'll make a small mistake here. It's not cloud computing, but cloud computing. Sorry, uh, sorry for this mistake. So you can see that for all transactions, online transactions to be possible, if cryptography wasn't there, it would not have been possible for us to secure the transactions. And trust me, cryptography is used every day and in each and every form that you can have whenever, as soon as you use telecommunications for performing your transmission of data. Then you have this big term here, Internet of Things, or IoT, which is being used nowadays. So actually, I could change or equate the word IoT to the word smart. Smart. You see, smart cities. Bhubaneswar actually is one of the biggest or largest in the smart city in India. So you have smart health, smart living, smart industry, and so on, animal tracking, smart agriculture, smart homes, smart transport. Smart transport, when we talk about smart transport, is about what we call self-driving cars and so on, or trains. And you have smart energy. So all this nowadays, you will see now, because of the fact that we can have access to the internet, these things, they can connect to each other or communicate to each other through the internet. The only thing that you have to make sure is that the communication is secure. So that, for example, for smart transport, for example, you can actually avoid accidents, for example, or for smart health, you can avoid somebody killing somebody because they have access to the devices that the person is using, and so on. Smart cities to actually improve the efficiency of power consumption or light and so on and so forth in a given city. So this is actually a huge place where cryptography is used. So as I have mentioned, Internet of Things, you will notice that this slide is empty because I have removed all the points there. Anything which is smart nowadays, which can automatically detect that it is within a network and can actually communicate with another, is smart, and it is part of what we call the Internet of Things family. Then I would like to talk a bit now about this blockchain technology. You must have heard about this. Blockchain technology is a very new technology that is nowadays being used by many banks and many other uh, industry, for example, insurance and so on. Basically, what it is, blockchain actually is not something new. It is new, but it uses technology that already existed, and one of the components here is uh, cryptography. So a blockchain actually, as the term says, it is a chain of block, and each block actually can be considered as a transaction. Okay, it is not necessarily stored in a specific central place. It is what we call a distributed network. So a blockchain is a shared distributed ledger. Ledger is actually a sequence of transactions, of immutable transactions. This term immutable here is very important because once a block or a transaction is performed and it is added to the chain, it cannot be changed, and this actually is being provided by cryptography. So each block in the chain actually is encrypted and hashed. Now, encrypted for confidentiality, hashed for uh, integrity. So it means that anybody who is accessing, because you see, because it is distributed, it is accessible to all the authorized parties, but then they can see, and if they have the password, they can have access to it, and they cannot change it, because if they change the data, the hash will change and we will know that it has been tampered, and of course the chain will be rejected. Once a block is returned to the chain, it cannot be changed or deleted. And you will notice that cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are built on blockchain technology. Nowadays, all banks of the world now, they are moving towards blockchain technology because very soon, most probably, we are going to have what we call a cashless society where we don't need to have uh, notes and bank notes and coins to perform transactions. All will be done in terms of cryptocurrency. So this briefly actually describes the blockchain technology. Again, I'm just watching my time. So I will skip this one here because it is self-descriptive. Most probably, I will leave a copy of the slides with Dr. Vidush Sahu, and he can actually allow you to have access to the presentation slides. So now let us talk a few words about trends and research in cryptography. So these are the two main that I have noticed here. First of all, you have lightweight cryptography, and secondly, you have quantum cryptography, which are two very hot subjects nowadays. And if you are about to get into research and you're interested in cryptography, so these are the two things that we are having nowadays. So first of all, lightweight cryptography. Here, it is nothing new, only that you have the term lightweight. You will notice that the algorithms, for example, AES or RSA that have been built and that we are using nowadays for encryption and so on, they are very strong, but very strong in the terms that they are resistant to attacks and so on. But they are also very heavy in the sense that for you to perform encryption and so on, they need to have huge computing resources, power consumption, and so on. But nowadays, with the field of IoT and IoT devices and so on, which are very frequently very small. Sensors, for example, here you have sensors, radio frequency identification tags, contactless smart cards, and so on. So they are small, and because they are small, but still they have to be secured and perform secure transactions. Uh, they do not have much power in themselves. For example, sensors, they have very little power or no power at all. Very frequently, they depend on the sun energy and so on. So yes, nowadays we need cryptographic algorithms which are very light, but at the same time, even if they are light, they still need to produce or ensure the highest security of communication. So this is basically a new wave of cryptographic primitives for constrained devices, right? So the biggest question is about is security compromised due to lightweight? Now you will notice that nowadays many companies, organizations, and academicians they are providing or they are proposing each time new and better and more performant lightweight cryptography. If you go out there, just type the term lightweight cryptographic algorithms on the internet, you will see you have hundreds of them which will come, and people are not stopping, they are actually creating. Now when it comes for you to choose between one or another lightweight cryptographic algorithm for your device or your application, it becomes very difficult. But still again, it is a field of huge interest and huge research. uh, yeah, and then I will come to quantum cryptography. Quantum cryptography has given rise uh, due to the birth of what we call quantum computers. You know, the computer that we use nowadays, which is known as the von Neumann computer, it is based on, it is also known as a digital computer, based on the binary system, one and zero. Uh, so people wanted to know how you can actually make the computer become more and more performant. Yeah, so one of the ways, for example, for having a computing device that is going to perform faster and much more efficiently is quantum computers based on quantum physics. And because of the fact that those computers, they are very fast and very powerful with low consumption of power, they can actually break all our cryptographic algorithms that exist nowadays. So that when quantum computers will come, and trust me, it will come, it is just a question of a few years, not more than that. I believe that in 10 years we will already have already working powerful quantum computers. And then for us to be able to ensure security using cryptography, this is a new field or a new wave of cryptographic algorithms known as quantum cryptography, which is based on physics, not on mathematics. And remember, the traditional cryptography is based on mathematics, right? And then yes, and then finally, if you take, for example, cryptography as a field of study, or you're interested in that. Yes, so one thing is you can go in teaching as an academic to work as a professor to teach uh, cryptography and to perform research in that, or you can work as a cryptographer or cryptanalyst. This one here is more difficult to get a job here. Most probably, you can actually work either in the CIA or the Department of Defense of your country, where you are actually protecting your country against communication which may be launched by, let us say, terrorists and so on. Very rare to have this kind of job here, but the most widely used one is this one here, network security engineer, or very frequently called as security engineer. And a security engineer most of the time will be very well versed with cryptography. Of course, I have put dot here because there are many other fields in which cryptography comes in there. For example, if you are doing software development, for example, you're building a mobile application, web application, you are storing in data in databases and so on. Most probably, as a software developer, you will need to know a lot of cryptography. At least when you store and you transmit data that you have converted it in a form that is not listenable by other people or other parties. And then briefly, I would like to talk about the security standards organizations. That is, what are the different organizations that actually rule and how do I call that, standardize the the different cryptographic algorithms or approve them. The most important one is the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. I would recommend you to go to the site here. It is actually nist.gov, I think, and there are plenty of information that you can learn about what is going on in the field of cryptography, what are the different standards that are used in governments and business. And then you have the Internet Society, ISO. Then you have for digital communications, right? International Telecommunication Union. And then finally, you have the International Organization for Standardization. If you are actually providing or any software or you do software development or any hardware that you are engineering and you want to actually implement security there, it is most important for you to actually look at the standards that are being used so that you can ensure security and interoperation with other devices. There are some of the useful reading that you can do. For me, one of the most interesting books is the one on the left-hand side here, this one, Cryptography and Network Security. We have here the 5th edition, but you have these two books here, which are very interesting also, written by David Kahn and also by Simon Singh. Here you are. We have actually gone through the different points that we wanted to see together with you. So would you have any questions? So before I end, I would like to again transmit my special thanks to the Gandhi Institute for Education and Technology, to its director also, and also to Dr. Vidush Sahu, who has made this possible for me. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be now very pleased to answer your questions.
Sir, one question, sir.
Yes.
You have presented this cryptography in a very nice manner, and it will be very useful to young others in cryptography.
Yes.
First, I'm giving my thanks to you and also the organizers of this event, number one. My question is, so nowadays, quantum cryptography plays a pivotal role.
Yeah, I can hear you because yeah.
There is entirely different from cryptography. Is it right, sir?
Yeah, it is different.
Quantum cryptography is entirely different from traditional cryptography, I think. Because
yeah, completely.
Traditional cryptography based on the computer science, mathematics, etc., But this quantum cryptography is based only on the physics things.
Yeah, definitely.
Right,
yeah, you are right. Yeah, you are definitely right.
In this situation, so what are the advantages of quantum cryptography as compared with
No, it is not a question of advantages. You see that because of the fact that if and when quantum computers will come, you will see that the algorithms that we're using traditionally nowadays, they will no more be able to be using quantum cryptography because those computers, they are 100 times more powerful than the computers that we're using nowadays. So all your encryption and security will fall down using traditional cryptography. So that is why, because of those computers being very powerful, we have to actually now devise new algorithms for us to be able to secure our new communication. Trust me, many organizations and many countries, like you see organizations like Google, Microsoft, and so on, they are investing in quantum computing. And you have countries like China, USA, and so on. They are trying to actually build the next quantum computer. So yes, this is a completely new field, and there are no advantages that you can provide with quantum computers compared to not computers, quantum cryptography compared to traditional cryptography. It is just that we have to shift, because quantum computers, they use a new technology. The encryption, the security technology also should change. Yes, any questions, please? Did I answer the question? Hello? I'm sorry, I'm not being able to put my video. I don't know why it is not working.
Sir, some questions will be there in the chat box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sir,
Can you read the?
Sir?
Yes.
Uh,
Hello. Hello. Yeah, I think now it is working. Can you see me now,
sir?
all of you? Yes.
Sir, is it audible to you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, very nice, sir. Sir, in quantum cryptography,
Yes.
two users simultaneously share the secret information, right, sir?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So in this situation, I think this is the main constraint behind the security. Is it right or not, sir? Please justify.
No, quantum cryptography works in the same way as traditional cryptography. Only that the technology, underlying technology, it is no more digital. It is quantum. It works on physics. If you, unfortunately, I don't have
Sir,
more
is
information.
it possible to share the common information by two person in traditional cryptography, sir?
Yes, of course. Yes, yes, it is possible. Yeah, it is only that the point is that yes, quantum computers, they use a different technology. We cannot use the same traditional cryptography to ensure security when you have quantum computers. And thank God we are already ready for quantum cryptography, because when quantum computers will come, we will be able to actually secure the communications, because
sir?
yes.
So due to bandwidth problems, some connectivity is not there, sir.
Yes, no problem.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Please. I would ask Bidush ji if you can interfere whenever.
Quite clear, sir. And some questions are there in the chat box. Just see the chat box, sir.
Yeah, okay. So let me see one question from, yeah, that is saying, nice session. I can't see the questions. Thank you. Look, what I will do, I will actually give a copy of my presentation to Professor.
So sorry for interruption, sir.
No problem, please.
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, in traditional cryptography, is it possible to share the common information by two users, sir?
Yes, definitely. We have this this method which is known as Diffie-Hellman key sharing, because because we have symmetric cryptography. When we send the message, we have to send also the key to the receiver, because the same key should be used for decryption also. So sending the key is a problem. One of the ways for actually not sending the key but sharing the key, so that nobody have to send the key, is you have this what we call Diffie-Hellman, Diffie Hellman, Hellman method for key sharing. It is actually possible when we have what we call a public key infrastructure, which is established. So you don't have to actually generate the key and use it. The key is actually shared between the two without in the background.
Thank you for your expert opinion. I'm sure it will be helpful for each and every participants here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I should actually thank you and Dr. Bidushji, who has been able to invite me, and I'm very grateful for that. I would like to thank all the participants who are there, and I hope that this information has been interesting for you. I have tried to give a very brief overview of cryptography, but of course this is a very huge and very vast subject, and also it is very complex and very difficult. I have to mention this because you notice that technically it is difficult to get into cryptography. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. With this, I would like to request Professor Prashant Kumar Pani, sir, to kindly give the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Very good afternoon to one and all. I am Professor convener of this national webinar. It gives me immense pleasure to thank each and every member associated with this webinar. Today, my words are not enough to express the gratitude. On behalf of GIET family, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Satyaprakash Panda sir, Chairman, Gandhi Group of Institutions, to encourage us in conducting this webinar. I would also like to express my gratefulness and thanks to Professor Jyoti Prakash Mishra sir, Vice Chairman GIET Khordha Bhubaneswar, and Professor Snigdharani Panda ma'am, Secretary GIET Khordha Bhubaneswar, for believing in us always. Special gratitude to Dr. Sivan Emik from University of Mascarijans, Mauritius, for accepting our invitations and gracing the webinar by his presence. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Professor Dr. Jivananda Jana sir, Principal GIET Khordha Bhubaneswar, and Professor Vikas Chandra Patnaik sir, Principal Diploma Wing, for their kind support. I would also like to express my thankfulness to Professor Dr. Sambit Kumar Mishra sir, Dean Research and Development, and Professor Balaji Prasad Padi sir, Dean Administration, for their helping hand. I would like to thank Professor in charge of different areas, HODs, faculty members, and members of staffs for their kind cooperation and support. I would also like to thank all the participants for making this webinar a successful one. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I request all the participants to kindly fill up the feedback link. Thank you, sir. I would like to request Vidu sir to kindly end the meeting. Sir, please.
Thank you all. This webinar is a grand success for all of us. So I declare this webinar to be closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. And stay safe, all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Bye.